Welcome to the HVAC ADHD vodcast, the only show where duct design meets dopamine and where energy efficiency and executive dysfunction battle it out for airtime. The HVAC vodcast isn't just about better systems, it's about better people, better thinking, and a little grace for those of us who zig when the spec sheet says zag. This week's episode is brought to you by NoSo. Hey y'all, welcome to the HVAC ADHD vodcast, the only show where duct design meets dopamine and energy efficiency wrestles executive dysfunction for airtime. I'm your host, Jeremy Begley, and today we're diving into a hot topic, using historical energy data and runtime analysis to size HVAC systems. Joining me today is Max Reichlin, a product manager and mechanical engineer who spent the past decade working towards a cleaner planet through smarter energy efficiency and renewable power generation. Max is behind Thermentor, a cutting-edge tool leveraging historical utility bills to create precise load calculations without the traditional manual J. We're going to unpack how data-driven models differ from conventional methods, discuss the nuances of equipment efficiency, latent loads, and future of data integration and AI in HVAC system design. Max's passion for practical, sustainable solutions is matched only by his dedication to helping HVAC contractors deliver outstanding comfort and efficiency. Let's jump in. Max, welcome. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your product and yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's good to be here. I guess briefly, I work for a company called Clean Power Research. We mostly do software for kind of in the utility space. We sell products to utilities, electric utilities. But we're kind of branching out. We're really interested in like how we can help solve various energy problems with data. And this was one that our founder, Tom Hoff, was really excited about. So we're kind of jumping into a new industry, a new space, and that's with our product Thermentor, which is not actually for sale yet. The version that we have is free, and you can just come to thermentor.com and try it out. But like you were saying, kind of the core of it is that we use energy data instead of kind of building a model of the house the way the manual J does.
To just clarify a few things, what's the difference between your approach and the runtime data approach? And is there any crossover between that approach with your approach?
Yeah. Actually, it's really interesting you mentioned that. I don't know that I've had a conversation explicitly about that detail, but there's a lot of crossover between the runtime approach and what we're doing. So, if we think about the manual J, and it's not the only one, right? Like, if you're into building modeling or building performance or anything, like if you know Energy Plus, like there are other tools out there where you kind of build a model of the home from the bottom, right? You like say, well, this is what these walls are made of. This is how they're framed. This is what's inside of them, right? And so those are, I would call those bottom-up models. They're like kind of constructing the home from sort of first principles. Like how would a home built like this behave? Like how much heat would it leak? And that's great. That's like one way of modeling, right? A runtime analysis is more like what I would call a top-down analysis. Like you take some kind of broad data for the home and you're going to infer something about the way the home is behaving from that kind of broad piece of data. And so runtime data is a good example of that. It's kind of similar to what we're doing. So we're taking, if you just think about it, like you're looking at, let's just imagine a simple home with just a furnace, something dumb, right? The furnace is using natural gas or whatever, and we're going to use the amount of natural gas that the furnace is using to figure out what the loads are. The runtime is very similar. It's just going to tell us, it's looking at how often the furnace is turning on to do the same thing. They're both going to have to make assumptions about the efficiency. Like you're going to have to either know or guess about what the current efficiency of the furnace is, and that's going to tell you how much heat is going into the home. So they're actually they're pretty similar, yeah.
Explain that point really quickly, not to interrupt you, but I personally would love to hear a little clarification about the last thing you said. It uses the runtime data and the energy data to tell you how much heat is going into the home based on the efficiency. So tell me about that piece based on the efficiency.
Yeah. So this is maybe the part that's kind of the weirdest if you're used to an approach like the manual J. When you're thinking about the manual J, you're thinking about the insulation of the walls, like what's the R value, stuff like that. What's in the attic? When you're thinking about the equipment, when you're thinking about a top-down model, you're looking at how the home is currently behaving. We're interested in figuring out, the question we're trying to answer is what are the loads, right? Like what is the actual heating load that this home has? And so we need to know how much heat is going into the home and how much is like escaping, right? This is like, I used a bucket analogy recently in a webinar I was doing. Like, if we imagine the home is a bucket of water, if the water is filling up, the home is getting hotter. If the water is like draining out, then the home is getting colder. We want to make sure, and generally speaking, people do because they have a thermostat. The bucket stays at the same level, right? It like stays at 70 degrees or whatever the temperature is they're shooting for. So the amount that's leaking out is the same as the amount that's going in. Like kind of if you zoom out a little bit, like that's not true in every instant, like your furnace is cycling, right? But kind of if you zoom out a little bit, that is true. If you look at a whole day or a whole week or a whole month, the amount of energy going into the home is the same as the amount of energy leaking out. And that's why both a runtime and an energy-based analysis will work, is because they're both kind of looking like broadly. Like you don't want to know if it's on for a particular 15-minute period if you're doing a runtime analysis. But if you look at the whole month and you look at how often it was on and how cold it was, that tells you something about how much heat's leaking out of the home and how much heat has to go into the home. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Efficiency was what you asked about. I'm trying to build the whole picture.
No, it's great. Thank you.
If we're looking at energy or runtime, you have to know how much heat is coming out of the furnace that's actually going into the home. If you've got an older 70 or 80% efficient furnace, it's burning gas and a bunch of those combustion products, right? The like CO2 and stuff, that's going out the flue. It's going out the vent. It's leaving the house and it is hot. And so that 20% or 30% of that energy is leaving the house. So we need to take that into account when we're thinking about the loads, the comfort loads that the people in the home are experiencing. So I'm just going to do dumb numbers here to make it easy. Like if you have a 10,000 BTU furnace, which is silly, nobody has that. A 10,000 BTU furnace, it's 20% efficient. 8,000 of those BTUs are going into the home for comfort. 2,000 are gone. And so we only care about the 8,000 to tell us about the loads that the home has. We don't care about the 20% that goes away.
So let's say we have a 9 HSPF piece of equipment and a 5 HSPF piece of equipment. What is the difference in the way that you apply that particular piece? That's what we're talking. First off, to clarify, when you say efficiency, those are the metrics we're talking about. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So when you apply that to the load, how is that normalize the load so that you know it's coming? Like let's use your example. If you have 8,000 BTUs leaving a house, one has a 5 HSPF piece of equipment and one has a 9. How do you guys use that to figure out what the load is doing right there?
So we have some formulas that we've derived kind of that are based on, so we have to take a little step back. I was talking about furnaces, which are easy to talk about because they're like kind of constant efficiency, right? It's like 80%, it's always 80.
Let's stick with that example. So let's just say an 80 and a 96. Let's use that AFUE.
Yeah. So let's say in some month, not an especially cold month, the home is using an average of 10,000 BTUs an hour of natural gas.
Okay.
Now that's not the unit they would give you. Like if you look at your bill, you're going to see like therms or whatever, right?
Yep.
but we convert it. We can convert that to BTUs an hour.
Sure.
So it's using 10,000. We know that about the home. And we know some temperature that the home is at. Maybe it's 40 degrees outside. If that home has a 96% efficient furnace, that means 96% of that energy went into heating the home. So 9,600 of those BTUs are real loads that were providing comfort for the home.
There it is.
If it's an 80% efficient furnace, then it's only going to be 8,000 of those BTUs that were providing comfort for the home. Now, that's kind of like a weird example because like it's not probably like if you just took the furnace out and swapped it and had the same home, the actual energy use would be different. The top number, right? Like if the home needed 10,000,
yep, then
it would actually have used a different number. Math. I have to do math in my head real fast. Maybe I don't.
We can, I think, drive the point home without doing the actual math.
Great.
I think you've answered the bulk of the question. So this is just, I was leading up to it. I just wanted to be sure we understood that because I want to ask you a different question that's sort of related. So here's the actual question. If a contractor used your software right now as it exists or, any future version of it, how if they used your software and they went in and they did a load calculation and they got whatever it was, like 18,000 BTUs or, whatever it is, and the homeowner's like, I don't feel like this has been keeping up. Like, we need a comfort consultant. Let's say we just had let's put some stuff aside so that we don't have to talk about it. We just did insulation. We just did, thermal upgrade, or it's a brand new home. Either way it goes, like they know that the thermal envelope is in line, but the system is truly undersized for the house. What basis would you use to be able to increase that load to where it needs to be to match what they need to be comfortable?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Nobody's asked me that. That's a good one. So in principle, what's going to happen I've never seen an undersized system in the wild, so this would be interesting to see. But what you're describing is like a true undersized system. It really isn't doing enough. We know the envelope is in place. What's going to happen is you're going to see that energy use rise until it hits the limit for that system, and then it's going to level out, right? It's going to flatten out. So right now, Thermentor is not like really designed to handle that case because it's unusual. But let's say it happened. You'd want to look at the model because we show the model. You can see like kind of how the energy use goes up in the cooling season and in the heating season. And what you ought to see is that there's like a kink in it and it flattens out. And what you would actually want to do, and we would want to like build support for this if this turns out to be like a real thing that happens, is like keep the line going. Because the secret sauce here that is true for runtime analysis, it's true for our energy-based analysis, is that the main thing that drives heating and cooling loads is the outside temperature. And the home is going to behave in a pretty predictable way because of that outside temperature. It's just going to that loads are just going to go up consistently. And so what you could actually do, if you imagine, I'm going to draw a picture with my hands. If you imagine that this is the part where it's going up and this is the part where it's flattening out, you could just follow that line out to that design temperature and you'd know kind of what that design system ought to be. And still maybe not do a manual J. Now it does depend. Of course, it depends on things. But it may be more appropriate to do a bottom-up model in that case, depending on what data you have. Yada yada yada.
And so you just brought up design temperature. That was one of my other questions that I wanted to hit on a little bit here, just for an understanding how the software works. Are you normalizing your load calculation using ASHRAE weather data in any way, shape, or form right now? Is that?
Yeah. So right now we're not using ASHRAE's data. We're using our company, CPR, Clean Power Research, has another product, a data product called Solar Anywhere, which is primarily a solar irradiance product that's used in the solar industry. It has weather data in it. So we're using that as our data source for weather data. And so when we say that a temperature is a 99% temperature, what we're doing is we're actually going back 12 years and we're just looking at the 1% and the 99% temperatures in Solar Anywhere's data for any particular location. Now, it's a numerical model. It's not like magic. There are only so many weather stations. So it gives you a point in any it'll tell you a temperature in any location. It may, and there are kind of advantages and disadvantages, right? Like for homes that are not near a weather station, it might be the best number you've got. But for homes that are right next to a weather station, like you might want to use the weather station data instead. It should agree pretty closely. I've seen a few places where I know it doesn't agree exactly. But, well, if you don't mind, can I go on a little rant here? It's not a rant,
sure.
Exactly,
let's. Yeah, I love rant.
It's a little side trip.
Let's rant. Let's rant.
Rant is probably the wrong word. So we're used to thinking about design temperatures as being this kind of like really crucial sort of wholly special number, right? Like this area, it's 32 degrees or whatever the number is, right? And it's not that they're not important, but I think if you start shifting your attention to kind of this like behavior of the home approach, like we're looking at how the home's actually behaving. We know how it behaves. We don't have to guess or like add a bunch of extra margin because we know like kind of what that rate is that the home is using energy now. And so if the homeowner, let's just forget for a second that there's like municipal rules about this, right? Like there's states and there's counties and there's all kinds of rules. But forget about the rules for just a second and the code requirements. Let's say you're with a homeowner and you know the design temperature in this place is 10 and the homeowner is like, I am just worried and I want it to work at 0. Instead of like guessing how much more you need to add on or like, adding a kind of arbitrary buffer to it, you actually can just change the number. Like you can just say, okay, well, we're going to design for 0. Our line is just going to keep following up to 0, and the load is whatever at 0, and then you select equipment based on that. So like design temperatures are important, but they don't matter unless you have a good model for how the home is behaving anyway. If you're already feeling nervous about your model that you're having to add 10%, 20%, 30% onto it to be like, make sure you've got it. If you're already, well, let's just assume there's no insulation in the walls, then like this is going to be a more data-based approach. I know you're scowling at me. You're like, I don't know.
No, I'm thinking it through. So I'm asking myself, do I know what you mean by adding 10 or 20% on there? That's really what I was thinking about there. So like when you're saying if you're already, are you saying like, are we pontificating on if there's a contractor in the field, hypothetically, that uses a tool like Manual J and he's saying, oh, I'm not comfortable with this, so I'm going to put my thumb on the scale, so to speak. Is that what you mean? Or are you saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about thumbs on the scale. I'm thinking about people that are like, they're just worried because they don't know, right? Because you can't see in the walls. Yep. It's hard. Right. It's a pain. I know. And so instead of needing to do that, instead of feeling like you should do that, like if you're feeling that fear, like this is a data-based way to kind of like avoid that. Sounds a little crazy. Like you don't have to look in the walls if you're doing a runtime analysis or an energy-based analysis. You just look at how the equipment is.
No, I get that part. I hope everybody gets that part. Like there is value in the fact that you're looking at what the house is using right then and there for the past couple of years. And so the only reason we do the model the other way is to figure out what the house would have been using during those years. So if you already know that information, then it's a good starting point, or at best or at worst, a true up point. So let's talk about what that would look like for a minute. I know there's a lot of people that are curious. I've seen it online that are saying, what if we had a tool And I saw somebody that says they do kind of have built one that does this, or they were saying they had it or something like that. But what if we had a tool that used utility data to true up a manual J load calculation? What's that true up look like? Like how, just logistically real quick, talk us through how that would work if we did something like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And there are a handful of tools that do stuff like that. Like calibrated models are a thing that have existed,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
That's not something that we've even seriously approached yet with Thermentor. It's possible there's a future where that's where we go. And like you mentioned before the show, like what does the ultimate perfect tool look like? And
Yep.
It's probably something like that where you kind of you have the models converge, right? You're like, well, I think the building is built like this and it's using energy like this, and we find the point where they agree. And that gives you clues about other facts, right? Like, maybe there is more leakage than we thought, or maybe there is missing insulation, or there's voids in it, or whatever. Stuff like that.
One thing that I think we might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit if we just stepped all the way away from manual J and went one way or the other, besides the obvious stuff, is that if a contractor's doing an actual manual walkthrough manual J in the house, then they are identifying, or they should be identifying opportunities for thermal improvement in the home. Like that's what it really should. I mean, if you're a savvy contractor and you're taking the time to do a really detailed load calculation, not just using, historical housing data or something like that for the thermal values, then you are going to be able to put your eye on a bunch of stuff that you otherwise wouldn't. And that turns into dollars and cents if you want to think about it that way. So that's one piece. The thing that you're doing, I love the way that it works, but it does bypass that particular step, and I think there's some value in that.
I basically agree with you. I think that sometimes I get so carried away in telling people about energy-based models just because I feel like it's new information that I do neglect sometimes. There's nothing wrong with the manual J. There are plenty of practitioners out there that are doing excellent work, right? They're detail oriented, they're paying attention, and they're helping homeowners make their homes more comfortable, and they're doing exactly what you're describing. And that's awesome. And those people should keep doing what they're doing. This is just another tool in the toolbox to kind of assist in that process. Folks that I've talked to who are using Thermentor now, they're using it as kind of an initial pass or as a sanity check, right? When their first load calculations come back and they're like, that's higher than I expected, I don't think that's right. Or they're concerned about a panel upgrade, or they're concerned about space. Can we get away with a smaller unit? That's when they start kind of bringing in energy-based modeling. And the other way to look at it is kind of as a first pass. You get the energy data, you run the home, and you're like, whoa, you're using a lot of energy for how big your home is. Thermentor shows that as what we call the effective R value. It's kind of the overall insulative value of your home, right? Yep. And if that's low, that's a clue. We should are you uncomfortable because your home is using a lot of energy, and so it's probably not well distributed, right? You probably have hot and cold spots, or some rooms are not being heated, something weird's going on, and that can kind of help guide those conversations.
Back into that conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
This week's episode is brought to you by NoSo. Ready to 10x your technicians? Field service teams are missing out on revenue. NoSo's AI ensures you capture every opportunity and finish every job with zero paperwork. From diagnosing tricky issues on site to automatically writing up job reports, their AI assistant, NoSo, supports your technicians at every step. To learn more about NoSo, click the link in our show notes or head to their website at noso.so. Talk about the elephant in the room, which is latent load. I know there's people. Do you have any anecdotal information of people using your tool in places where latent load is a thing. I know when we talked previously, Max and I had a great conversation. I had wrote in a blog article about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, for these type of tools versus just getting rid of manual J. And him and his team immediately reached out, and we had some great dialogue, which led to this particular interview here. So thank you for that. Thank you for reaching out. I love the conversation and all that, and I love that we're here right now. So let's talk about latent a little bit, because I know people want to know, how the hell are you handling this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, I mean, to be perfectly honest, we're not handling latent right now. Like if you go into the tool today, like we're going to estimate a cooling load, but it's not going to include the latent. It's sensible only. We're rolling out this week a more sophisticated analysis of existing cooling systems. So it is going to be looking at how your home is cooling. So we talked a little bit about the idea of the heating side, right? Like the 80% efficiency and stuff. The cooling side is similar. It's just that the efficiency is different, right? Because you got like a SEER value or a SEER 2 value. And so we're going to be looking at that to kind of like figure out what that comfort load looks like for your home. Now, yeah, this is where things get a little tricky, right? So if you've got an oversized air conditioner that isn't necessarily providing good humidity control because it's oversized, it's cycling, we'll be able to kind of see that latent load in there, but we won't be able to separate it today. So we won't be able to say, oh, this much of it is latent. We know that your air conditioner is like handling latent because there is humidity in your air, but we don't know how much it is. We're going to be rolling out another feature, I hope this quarter, where we're going to do a more in-depth analysis that's going to be a little, that's going to help us know what the bias is there. We're going to say like, okay, the humidity is X in this month, and we know your AC was running this much, and like that's going to start to give us some clues about like what that division is on the latent. But it's definitely like a trickier problem than just heating, right? It's like sort of fundamentally different. Like how much is happening is not related to the outdoor air temperature, right? It's related to the outdoor humidity, but also the leakage in the home, like the infiltration rate.
And the people that live there, and the breathing, and the dogs and the pets and the plants. There's a lot that goes into it. So, yeah, I think that's a big question. And, like just from a general marketing standpoint, I hear your tool and the other runtime tools talked about mostly as ways to sell heat pumps because the load's too big and people are oversizing these heat pumps and we need the accurate load and stuff like that. So even though we talked about furnaces, that I don't think that's, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that's the real intent of the tool here so much as the, or at least from the people, let's say the use case for the most people using it are heat guys selling heat pumps. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. That's kind of what we're oriented. Like we sort of assume that the installed equipment is going to be a heat.
So in every market that's not some parts of California, Colorado, and these other few dry climates, it's a important piece of the use case for the tool, because when we're thinking about heat pumps, we have to think about the reverse side of that, which is cooling in the latent load. So it's an interesting conversation. I think your guys' tool is great, and you're thinking the right way. So I'm excited to see where you go with it for sure. So along those lines, as we're wrapping up here, tell us your vision, your guys' long-term vision, your 2-year, your 5-year, your 10-year. What do you see your tool looking like? And
10 years. Who can even imagine that far?
Not me, but I still got to ask the question.
So right now it's free, right? Like we have a free version. We want to make a version that is like worth it for you to buy it, right? Like we want to make something that's really like delivering value for contractors, that saves them time, that makes them makes it easier for them to sell, and makes sure that their clients are comfortable after the project is over, right? and maybe to like maintain that continuing relationship with that homeowner. So, you know, we're kind of early still. Like we've been working on this, you know, most of this year, and like I just said, like it's not handling latent very well right now. Like we need to like build some more features into it to make it really, you know, pop.
Yep.
We'd like to launch it kind of for sale next year. And so then over the next couple of years, we'll keep kind of adding features to it so that, you know, it is able to provide that value.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of, there are a lot of stories, I think, that we can tell about people's homes with data that wasn't available 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Yep.
And I think that as we all get comfortable with that data and we all get comfortable with collecting it and using it, then I think those stories will start to come out and really help the industry and help homeowners. So that's kind of very broadly what kind of we're thinking about.
As a follow-up question, this popped into my mind, so I'm going to say it. That's what ADHD does to you. But what, if anything, how, if at all, do you see AI, the way AI is moving that technology fitting into what you're doing there?
We're looking now at employing some LLMs, some AI to support the process. In particular for the like data collection stuff, like helping the homeowner figure out what they need to give to us to help us do our analysis.
Sure.
So that it doesn't kind of land so squarely on the contractor to find that stuff. You know, obviously we're already like using like nowadays you'd call it AI, but we've been using machine learning to do the modeling for a long time.
Sure.
And so we're going to keep kind of leveling that up, but that's not really using like the kind of new fancy AI, that part. Yeah. That's more traditional.
What does, just out of curiosity, what does the upload process look like getting the utility bills into the software? Is that a heavy lift right now, or is that something that you think is going to get better over time? Or
it's definitely something that's going to get better. It's like that's one of the like key things that we're working on right now. So right now you can enter, you still have to put in the numbers. You just have to type them in. We're rolling out delivered fuels this week. So you have to like, for delivered fuels, you have to tell us like, when was the delivery? How much did it cost? How much was delivered? And you have to give us like several deliveries, right? And like,
oh yeah,
you just got to go dig up your bills and find them. And the same thing is true. Like if you're doing natural gas or electricity, you kind of got to go find your bills. You can log into your utility. You can go find your bill. You can tell us the billing amount, like the dollars that you spent, or you can tell us the energy, like 100 therms this month. And so either of those approaches work, and we're going to kind of keep building support for those. We have a big utility rates database that we use for this stuff to kind of help us with that analysis. So right now it's manual. It's not terrible if you're like, know where your bills are. If you don't know where your bills are, it's probably kind of a pain. And so we're going to roll out some additional strategies that kind of help folks that are like, I don't know. I don't even, there's a thing in my closet and it heats my house. That's all I know, right? Like we need to help that homeowner more. So we're working on that.
A long time ago in my past life, it's still part of this life, but when I was doing home performance, we used tools like Treat and Recurve and some of these optimizers, some of these tools that have a utility bill calibration in it. And I know the dream back then was if we could just get the utilities to let us access the bills from a high level, then we wouldn't even have to bug the contractors. Then smart meters started coming along. People were like, if we could tap into the smart meters, then we wouldn't even have to bug the homeowners. But here, as we sit today, we're still bugging the homeowners. So the utilities are, I have a lot of experience dealing with the utilities and asking them for things, and they are a fickle beast. So it's very hard to get anything usable, and they lean on privacy as the reason for that, but we all know that that's probably less of a reason than some other things. So I was just wondering if you guys had tried or made any headway in that regard at all.
We do not have any like magic bullet there. Like our company, in our other products, we do sometimes do integrations where we're able to get energy data directly from the utility. And so, that's something we could do in the future. It's certainly something we're open to doing if we can like partner with the utility. It's not going to be like a nationwide thing in any kind of short term.
And most of the utilities would rather buy your tool than partner with you. That's the other thing too. They're like, if it works how you say it works, then maybe we should just buy it and internalize it.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that's hard is that there's not just one utility. Like this is something I run into all the time. Is like, what the electric utility would be like, we want to do this. We're interested in heat pumps. We don't have any idea how much oil people are buying. We don't have any idea how much gas people are buying because we're not an integrated utility. And it's like, even if we can get their electric data from that utility, we can't get the gas data. We can't get the oil data. So it's like, it's so fractured. It's so fractured. So I was literally just this weekend, I was like, how could I get my energy data off my smart meter? I can't. I mean, there are utility programs that exist where you can.
Yeah, and that's, you get online and you're like, I can't do that. And somebody's like, I can. Like, okay, good for you, but you're not in our market, so that's not happening here.
Exactly, yeah. And there's like 1,000 electric utilities, more than 1,000 electric utilities in the country. So it's a really tough problem. It's sort of silly. It's kind of, it's depressing, but that's the magic bullet is and I don't think it's like a business bullet. I think it's like, we need to coordinate as a nation or something to like make this data more available, because I think it would make a lot of, work in home services just like way easier.
Oh yeah. And the utilities don't want it. This is my opinion. Nobody said this but me, but in my opinion, from what I have seen, the utilities do not want that data being publicly available like that because they manipulate it in certain types of ways. And I'm not going to go into that, but that's there are things that happen behind the scenes that you don't see before all of that is released into your bill. So yeah.
The like estimated usage, there's like some like gentle massaging, I think, that happens sometimes. It happens more for some utilities than others, and it depends on kind of what kind of meters you've got and stuff like that. So yeah, I've seen it. It's tricky to deal with.
It's an interesting landscape, that's for sure. All right, I think we're running up against our time here. You got anything that you want to leave the audience with, or tell everybody, coming features, what to watch out for, your website, anything you want to plug?
Yeah. I mean, just like I said, if this sounds interesting to you, if you want to learn more about kind of energy-based load calculations, like come check out Thermentor. We're at Thermentor.com. That's TherMentor.com. It's your mentor for therms, right? And like I said, we're rolling out some new features hopefully this week. I think they're going to go out this week, which is we're going to have better analysis of existing air conditioners, and we're going to have delivered fuels. So to be able to put in, if you have oil or propane delivered to your home, we can analyze those starting this week. And if you're a software company or something and you think that it'd be fun or interesting to chat with us about integrating with Thermentor, we'd love to talk to you also.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. Thank you for coming on and reaching out. We'll talk again soon. I'm excited to see where this product goes. Thank you very much.
It's been good to be here, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Are you still sizing systems by rule of thumb or selling jobs before knowing the load? We're happy to introduce the Permanent Load Reduction and Verified Performance Specialist Training, a 3-day immersive experience where HVAC pros get hands-on with real tools, real homes, and real diagnostics. Day 1, learn how to find and fix the load with building science-backed methods. Day 2, get certified as a MeasureQuick user and airflow diagnostic specialist. Day 3, bring it all together with advanced permanent load reduction strategies and verified system performance on a real home. This isn't just theory. It's permanent load reduction and verified performance, the kind that sticks. It's time to stop guessing and start proving. Sign up today at www.hvac2homeperformance on our training page. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast or HVAC 2-Home Performance and any of our services, be sure to check us out on our website at hvac2homeperformance.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at HVAC2HP and find us on Spotify and Apple. While you're at it, leave us a review. A big thanks to Santa Fe for supporting the show. The HVAC ADHD podcast is produced and edited by the team at Palm Tree Pod Co. Anthony Palmer is the executive producer. Bo Patton is our technical director. Nolan Gray is our audio engineer. And Caitlin Krings is the head of digital. The content for this episode is created by me. Hooday, go Bengals!